Here we are with masterpiece number 2, which is a 14 fret 00 Western maple quilt with a Adirondack top, heavily figured, extremely unique. Can't say I've ever seen an Addy top like this before. So that was selected for that, and to capture a lot of movement, as water is the theme of this piece. And I will say, just to start off with, this is actually dedicated to Preston Thompson, our mentor and previous guide through the guitar world, and just to honor him as a friend and a builder. And so we created this custom label, which is one of Caleb's ideas, to introduce a custom label on all of our masterpiece series. So they're unique to the piece, part of the design. So we have a brass logo, and we actually used a piece of the maple from the back and the sides, and I did a color treatment on that similar to the back and sides, so that picks up on the rest of the body. So that was one of the first things, customizations. This concept of the fish has been swimming around in my head for about 10 years, 5 years, and I showed it to Christine and Preston a few years ago, and they liked the idea and the concept, but I hadn't really come up with a guitar and a full concept to put it on and have it make sense. And anyway, while I was working on this, I decided to incorporate this into a full design concept, and it was a good opportunity then to do a full fretboard design scene, which we haven't done at Thompson here. And yeah, so the theme obviously is the koi fish in the pond with cherry blossoms and the some of the petals falling down onto the pond and becoming part of that scene, joining those together. I'm pretty proud of what we were able to achieve with this fretboard. The way the perfs roll over the fish and under the lilies and the lily flowers and the pads, and the brass echoing. It's quite simple in its theory, but to produce this in a clean way and have these perfs so clean, butting up to things, I mean, this was, between me and Caleb, this is pretty remarkable, you know, what we pulled off here. We took it slowly, we R&D'd it, everything had to go at the right time, the right place, and it really came together well. It still has some sanding to do in the final setup, which we're going to leave for now, just to leave room for all the pearl to hold its own. So this will become a lot cleaner, a lot darker, a lot brighter. We have a brass inlay logo. It's very nice, very soft. We have the interesting brass bind combination, which I'll get to now, which is brass mostly with some black-white perfs around it. And this was very well executed by Scott in the binding process. This was very difficult to work with the metal, to get it to do what you want it to do, and to work with the other materials. It's harder. It doesn't bend as easy. Yeah, I think any accomplished builder will know what might go into something like that. It's very, very difficult, tricky, and the effect is quite beautiful. As you move the guitar, it'll catch the light in places. And that's kind of what I was going for with this. I wanted a dark look to the guitar, some somber tones, but have those bright perf and the brass really pop. 45 style heel, which frames the heel nicely. It's a nice fit, and we have our perf here on the heel cap. That was rather a difficult thing to do. And the mitered tail strip. I expect we might do a custom pin there. It's going to get a pyramid bridge with some pearl and brass on it too, little highlights there. Haven't quite decided on the tuners next. We just let these things evolve as they come in and select the right thing for it when it's at that point. So yeah, this was definitely an accomplishment by all the guys here. It's so nice to see your design concept come to full fruition. And it's a very special guitar, means a lot to us all. And I was able to show the final design sketches to Preston before he passed. It was a couple of days before. We had a good time. He was particularly lucid and really enjoyed the exchange we had. And yeah, glad to say he had no complaints. And yeah, so this took a year to build. And yeah, it wasn't rushed. We take our time on the finish. So with the koi, this is kind of an interesting technique that I've been working with for some time. And the image is actually in the wood. It's very close to the wood. It's not in the finish, it's not stuck on, it's not laminated in any way. So it really is in the wood. The white obviously sits on the wood a little bit more, but the colors, the figures working within the color there, as you see, and that creates the movement that might be flowing over the fish, and the light and the play of the water, and yeah, it gives it a three-dimensional feel and a continuity between the wood. And this is why I selected the quilted maple too, because it has a light color for the canvas. There's a lot of movement in it, and it has that three-dimensional quilt figure in it, which just lends itself well to the wood and the concept of what we're doing here. I have an artistic background, but I've been working with guitars for 10 to 15 years, so I kind of blended those two skills together. And I think this guitar is a good example of that, of where you can bring design into a functional object, but yet still fully functional, but a thing of beauty in its own right.